We're headed into the danger zone, otherwise known as R&R in the morning's last 30 minutes of the week.
Well, kind of.
No, we got 2.5 after this. We'll be sitting in on halftime today, and to make you listen, for those of you that thought, oh, no, 2 more hours of Rudy and Rob, we'll pay you off. If you'll listen between noon and 2, somebody's going to walk away with some fight tickets, and maybe we can bribe you with some other stuff like fine meats.
Yeah.
We're joined by Colin for his weekly coming in from Primo Processing. Morning, Colin. How's the drive in from beautiful Hondo? Oh, you were here for this overnight.
Yeah, but the drive-in is always awesome. Good morning, guys.
Good morning,
It's such
man.
a privilege to be here.
Now, Colin, to give me an idea, if from studio to processing there in Hondo, what's the drive?
In time-wise?
Yeah, about 40 minutes.
No, it's about 56 minutes.
Yeah,
56, about an hour.
When you're keeping within the law, it's about 56 minutes.
It is God's country. Don't drive through it like hell.
Don't adjust your dials. That is an accent, a South African accent.
We
right?
love
Yes,
having
sir.
Colin here.
South
Yeah.
Africa. So what's besides hunting?
Yes. Sir.
What would you say is your favorite sport?
My favorite
If you
sport?
have one.
Ooh, so I come from a background of martial arts. Growing up, boxing and Muay Thai.
You did some
K1.
Muay Thai, right?
Yes, yeah, I did quite a lot of styles growing up. My father was black belt in 2 styles, so
Oh,
kind of-
wow. It's in your DNA.
yeah, I'd say so. It's definitely like kind of a heritage of like
But
this
that's
is
a
what you're gonna
sport,
do.
though. So if that's your sport, that's your thing. So you hand-to-hand combat.
Yes, that's definitely what I grew up with. I did a lot of individualized sports
Mhm.
personally, a lot of squash. I represented my country, my province in my country for squash in high school, and then I personally I really loved kettlebell sport lifting. It's a very
Kettlebell?
sport lift, that ball with the handle.
Yeah. I didn't know that was like a. I mean, I've done them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it, but I didn't know it was like a
It really is. It's a very old sport as well.
it's like powerlifting with kettlebells.
Yes, sir.
Do you throw the kettlebells?
No,
That's not the one where
no.
you're throwing it over the bar behind you.
No.
No.
That's that
Like the
Viking,
Scottish games or something.
Yeah.
The
I forget what
Highland
it's
games
called.
or something,
What's
right?
squash, Colin? Go
Squash
back.
is
What's
racquetball with a longer racket and a less bouncy ball.
Hurts like heck when you get hit.
Yeah.
by it.
It's a ridiculously strategic game.
Yes.
And when I grew up, my father played squash and racquetball, so I kind of grew up in those. Now, racquetball's speed and stamina. Squash, because the ball doesn't react off the wall the same, you have to think 3 moves ahead because your shot's setting up what he's going to do. It's a very interesting game to get great at.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as racquetball. You can
You
overpower a
represented your-
racquetball game.
You represent your country. You got pretty good at it.
I represent
Your
my
province.
my province.
Your
yes.
province, right.
I did represent my country in kettlebell sport. And so just kettlebell sport, it's typically like an 800-year-old sport. It's very Russian dominated. It does come from that Eastern Bloc area. It is very hard, and kettlebells is an enormous tool into your repertoire of training. But it's all about repetition, right?
Gotcha.
Strength, endurance, development, repetition. So you got 232 kilos as a professional lifter.
Okay, how many pounds is 32 kilos?
Ooh, that's like 74.
See, we're the only
75
people that
pounds.
see. The
Yeah.
problem is we're the only people that use pounds.
Right. And
We're like America, like we're our own thing. Everybody else, everywhere else, uses kilos. So
Yeah. And centimeters and millimeters.
yes,
It helps when you put.
you guys,
multiples
the
of
funny
10.
thing is we went the hard direction. Normally Americans, we're going to go the easiest
It's-
route.
it's-
And we went the one that involved math every time.
Yeah, it's 70 pounds.
70 pounds. Yeah. So you as a professional lifter, you have 70 pounds per arm, and you have 10 minutes. It's a flight,
Okay.
and so you're standing there in your tighties, and you got to lift. So
Many times is a AMRAP.
yes, as many reps as possible.
Okay.
You can't put it down. You have 2 judges in front of you. They're very strict, and most reps win. It's real simple, but let me tell you, you definitely see Jesus through that 10-minute process.
Can't
You go
imagine.
through so many emotional states because it burns, it hurts, but you're not going to die. But just
So you
one more rep.
it's just
one
keep
more rep.
going.
Yeah,
It's kind of like you got to black out and just go.
yeah. You just got to zone out. Make
You
sure
got to
you
black
breathe.
out. Yeah.
And Rudy is into the weights. You're a weightlifter type. You are. I mean, that's one of your workouts
That's
is you lift.
debatable.
And I've never really been a lifter. So when I hear all that, I go, well, that's nothing I'm ever going to do.
Well, my gym, the gym that I work at is a powerlifting gym
Mhm.
and a strongman gym.
Awesome.
So
That's
they
awesome.
got the ball, the what are they?
Atlas ball.
Yeah, those and the overhead. So I'm familiar with it. I'm not into it like that, but I know everything that goes along with it.
And I think the conversation that we're having involves why Primo Meats is so available and important in now because it does involve a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
We're talking to an international athlete that uses the protein involved with that, not just for the pleasure of great tasting meat, but there is a physical need for this. So for those of us that are working or endeavoring to live a healthier lifestyle, we've all kind of focused on proteins away from carbohydrates.
Right.
Well, after a while, we all know that starts to suck. It's the same stuff over and over. And that's why Primo Processing and the cured meats have been such a great thing in mind, because now what used to be a bland piece of chicken, you can replace with a cured meat that not only has flavor, but it's something that you can take with you instead of having to microwave it and all this. It lasts, it stays with you. You can put it in your backpack and briefcase and take it wherever you might go. And that's what I love about Primo Processing. And we talked with Colin, who has this international background that he brought to Texas and combined the idea of how do we find other sources of protein, but use old world recipes. And I love what you've done over with Primo, because you're not one of them, but you came in and saw what they were capable of and really upped their game.
Yeah, no, it's been such a eye-opening experience coming across to America, first of all. It is so incredible here. I've had the privilege of, competing around the world and seeing multitudes of cultures and different ways of training and health. And as an athlete, I've always pursued, well, what can I eat? What can I do that's going to give me my best yield to get my results so I can be a better athlete? And that's always churning in your mind as an athlete. And my encounter with Primos, I didn't invent anything with Primos. It was already there with the owners. It's 100-year-old recipes. And as we're going along, we tweak certain things here and there. And as an athlete, okay, let's just say Texas is a very hot climate,
Yes.
state.
You're not hurting anybody's feelings.
No,
That's the truth.
we're aware.
That's the truth.
It's pretty hot here, right? So I noticed that I'm chugging down a lot more water and a lot more liquids.
Right.
And in the pursuit of how do I get this protein in, and also how do I make sure that my salt levels are balanced and everything else, dried meat is so easy to consume. In South Africa, it is tradition that you have biltong and droges, which is our dried products. Okay,
Got you.
because it's a high source of protein.
Got you.
You do have you have your other salts and stabilizers in there that actually are kind of helpful.
Yeah,
when
the
you're-
electrolyte version of part of that. Yes.
Yes, sir. It's hot. You need to replace these things in your body. And when you're busy and you're on the go, because there's no more lackadaisy, living anymore, you've got to get to the gym, you got to train, get that
Right.
protein in, and off you go to work.
Right. Tell us about the Primo Pack and how do they go about it? Like, tell the listener exactly how it works from Primo Processing standpoint and how they can support.
So for the sampler boxes,
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. There we go. What is ours called?
The star packet.
Star.
You want to
Pack.
remember the word star. That's how you're going to
Pack.
save some
there
money.
we go.
Yes, yeah, very important. STAR. Star.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
the sampler pack basically boasts our basics of our dry products. Okay, so
Okay.
we got the dry sausage, got the Primo sticks,
Mhm.
and basically they're just different sizes for preference. Then we've got the sliced jerky and the chunk jerky.
Okay.
We've added 2 other products in there that are not yet available online, and so it's only in these sample boxes. And that's the Primo Stick Spicy and the Primo Stick Chili Pekin. And I'd actually like to circle around, why is spicy and chili important for us as humans?
It's metabolism, right? Speeds it up.
No, I was part of a very interesting study, but I'll get to that in a
Okay.
moment. Is
I
that
want to hear
Yeah,
that.
that's teasing forward there.
yeah.
I'm interested.
this sample pack is really to get the product into people's mouths, give it a try.
Okay.
And one thing that I've stepped into Primos with and really embraced is that give us your feedback, talk to us.
Yeah.
It's difficult trying to say that you're the best or we're the best.
Right.
We're the best when people come back and say, hey, this was amazing, maybe a little bit less salt. Hey, well, this is amazing, maybe a little bit more spice. And we go, cool, awesome. And we tinker and tinker and tinker until we get this really good product that everybody likes. And so far, the recipe being 100 years old, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I mean, if it lasted 100 years, I think I did it
yeah.
right.
If you feel like it needs to be changed, I think you need to adjust your palate, because it's ridiculously good. I mean,
Right.
for those of us that have been jerky eaters for all of our lives, I mean, it's just something that I've put in my pack, and it's always been part of that.
Just roll out.
There is that mass-produced flavor. I mean, they do their best with what they're doing, but it's not. You can't give the workmanship, and you can't give, like he was talking about, the small tweaks on a regular basis. And that's one of the great things about curated and locally produced stuff is that the hands that touched it are the hands that touched the last time you bought it. It's going to be that kind of recipe. And some of the things that you guys do are actually very unique. Now, the chunk jerky, outstanding. It's got a great chew. It's not too hard, not too soft. It's the kind that you're after. For those that like the sliced jerky, it's got a little bit more of a chew, a little bit heavier, but an easier keep. But you start getting into some of those softer meats that are available to you, like the brisket bacon cheeseburgers. And one of the things that's unique to South Texas and really to Hondo is your parisa. And for those of you that know what parisa is,
fill me in. Which one is that one?
One of the ways that chefs and other cooks kind of judge each other is how they handle certain food groups. Now, parisa is raw meat. It's raw.
It's just raw
meat mixed with cheeses and other things.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just
you have to. This is master's level stuff,
right?
I mean, you don't just get parisa from the corner guy because you don't trust them. I've been through the market. I know how they handle their meats. I know how clean the place is, and I have no issue at all. And for those of us that know, if you love parisa, you're not going to find anything better anywhere than at Primo's.
Because it's done right.
It's an old recipe, that parisa. So important to note is that parisa, the raw meat, is actually cooked through acidization through the serrano peppers. And
it's kind of like ceviche. It's cooked. It's just not cooked with heat.
It is so good.
It is ridiculously good. And I think that's the representation of what Primo's does. So this is the dare that I have for you that Colin just he was gentle about it. You're not going to have anything better. There's no better jerky out there. All we can do is dare you to try it, and not only dare you to try it, but give you the opportunity to sample the varieties at a great deal and at discounted rates. So what you need to do to get this is go to primoprocessing.com. That's all you need to do, and then just click on the deal, click on the products. You're going to see a great depiction of everything they've got. We've got curated boxes put together. The instructions are there, how you can save some money. Just remember the word STAR. Orders over $50 land on your front door for free. The sample packs, you're not paying for shipping anyway. So go to primoprocessing.com, order the sample box. Don't worry about all the pictures. You're going to go back and get all that other stuff. But what we want you to do is try the Primo sticks. First of all, that's the first thing you want. And if you do that, you're not going to want anything else, because to give you an example, last year alone, and in 6 weeks, my brother and his 2 sons went through 80 pounds of Primo sticks.
That's a lot.
Well, it's during the lockdown. And if you're going to be snacking, you might as well be snacking on healthy stuff. Think of a Slim Jim elevated to
the real
filet mignon, akaushi levels.
I never knew what meat Slim Jim was. I know what this meat is.
It's got snap, it's got flavor, and here's the difference. It's not greasy. And for those of us that love that kind of flavor, but you get there's no grease involved. Primoprocessing.com. Put a dash in there. Go make the order. Trust us on this. We don't put our name on everything. Seriously.
No, we don't.
I'm so excited for people to try this out. And even being with you guys and talking about it, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Personally, it's difficult to try and sell and work with something that you don't believe.
Exactly.
Okay?
I can't.
It's hard, right?
I can't.
And since encountering Primos and being involved with them and eating their product, it's delicious. And I'm fussy. I really am fussy.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things that came across when we first met Colin, because Colin came with a worldview to a very local small town product,
right?
And brought the idea of scaling and all of the stuff that businesses have to do. But every time we talked to him, all he could talk about was we are maintaining the flavor of Hondo. We're maintaining what got us here for 100 years. We're just going to make it available to more people. And scaling that up is not an easy thing to do, because whether you're making 10 batches or 100 batches, you need them all to stay the same.
Yeah.
And the curative value of that is what Colin brought to the company. And it's great. One of the things I do want to talk about next week. Now, Colin is South African. And one of the reasons that drew you to Hondo was the big game around. There are more big game in some species in Texas than there are in Africa right now. You're a big game hunter. You're a scout of type. I want to talk about hunting the bigger animals, those big 7, and some of the things that you've done, not only there, but here.
Yeah.
Because the stories I'm sure you've got of being out in the bush and tracking some of these huge animals. For hunters like us who are kind of, we sit in the blind and wait for them to cross our path. I find these stories outstanding. And Colin, you've lived that life.
I'll be excited. I'm excited to share that with you guys.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that next time for sure.
It's awesome. I did want to share with you guys
go ahead.
before before we wrap up in any
No, we're
sort of
good.
way
Take your time.
is okay. The spice, the chili pekin.
Yes.
Why is this
Oh,
important?
yeah. Let's get there.
All right. So if you're an active athlete, if you are a runner, a cyclist, okay, this is really important.
Okay.
So recently, there's a lot of medical journal research that's the forefront of human factual based evidence. Okay, and only in the past sort of 8 years have certain things been discovered. A lot of it was hypothetical theory. So, for example, cramps. Why do cramps happen?
I
Yeah.
was always told I was low on a particular mineral that I can find in bananas.
So, if that were the case, okay, salts and minerals, typically potassium in bananas. If that were the case, why is one muscle cramp? Why in that realm? And instead,
Why not
your
all of
whole
them?
body
Why
should
wouldn't the
cramp,
whole body
okay,
cramp up?
if you're
Right.
short on a resource? Well, there was a race between South Africa and America about who can find or figure out the cure to cramps.
All right.
Okay, so they figured out that it was actually a neurological fault. So
Okay.
your brain sends a signal to the muscle, and then it relays back. It's a circuit.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, there's an agreed theory that the cramp happens due to a starvation of resources. Now, your mitochondria, which is the engine of your cell, will kind of shut down when you get starved of certain resource, oxygen, glycogen, glucose, and fatty acid. That goes kaboom, and you have energy, right?
Damn.
And obviously, oxygen is your first starved resource because we have to breathe. Okay, it's a diminishing return. So there's a fault or a backfire. Now, they figured out that if you reset that neuron via overstimulating your alpha motor neuron. Now, your alpha motor neuron is a neuron that's found in your tongue, your esophagus, and your stomach. Okay, you stimulate that, it resets your neuron path. So there were cases, and I had customers in the gyms because I own gyms.
Oh, yeah.
47 seconds when we administered the shock to the alpha motor neuron.
Which
you have
would
to
be like
overstimulate.
biting into a pepper.
Yeah, chilies, peppers, cayenne
Chili
pepper,
pecan.
chili pekin, anything spicy,
So
anything
let
that
me
makes
get
you
this straight. I'm having a calf cramp.
okay. Yeah.
It's there. And you're telling me to get over the cramp, now certainly fluids are going to be part of the regeneration.
It
But
helps.
to eliminate it immediately, 47 seconds after I bite into a pepper, that would help me to get rid of a cramp?
Yes.
Is
As long
this
as
a
that pepper's hot
neuron?
enough where you're going, whew, because it has to overstimulate that neuron. And it works.
It's like rebooting the system. You're like kicking the TV set.
Took the words out my mouth. So there was a product made called Cramp Knot. And its branding was called It's the,
Yeah.
and it works because and I mean, I gave a bunch to my father because he would cramp in the when you're sleeping, and it works. It works. It honestly works. Something a little bit of a trick as well is that when you have a bad hangover, same thing. Bites on something very very spicy, and
I'm gonna go chew on a pekin right now.
It helps you level out. Incredible science,
No, that is.
So Primo Processing has
Especially
products that can do that
I
for
remember
you.
so many cramps over the years. So yeah,
That is
but it's
the
got to be
expertise.
spicy enough to snap you
Yeah,
out of
you've
it.
got
It's kind of like it's
If
got
you're not tearing up, if you're not tearing
It
up
ain't
and
gonna
going,
work.
whoo, you still
Right.
got a cramp. That's the expertise that goes into the processing at Primo's.
So you ain't gonna be cramping with the chili pecan meat and the spicy meats.
New World
You will
Tech
not be cramping.
That's
and
right.
Old world craftsmanship. Take that drive out to Hondo. Go to primoprocessing.com. You will not regret it. And as I'm apt to say, you will definitely thank me later.